Good morning. It is December 26th, 2016. This is Matthew Brenner. This is going to be a very special jam-packed podcast. I've decided I am going to let loose. I was thinking about this for at least an hour this morning before I decided to record this. Because inevitably, every time I record some kind of podcast, and then I render it, I upload it to YouTube, I try to post it various places to get some hits, and just see what people have to say for feedback. Then I'm like, damn it, there was other stuff I wanted to say. Or why didn't I make the point this way? Why didn't I add this information? There's another clip I could have used. So today is going to be like a super episode. There's a whole bunch of things I want to get to. Yesterday, I made it a point to address the list released on Telegram by ISIS. It was carried by Fox News and the alternative media. And it was a list of churches to attack in all 50 states and other places in the world. And the point that I made is ISIS is taking credit for the list, or they're given credit. And some of the points that I made on Reddit and other places, and even in the podcast, is that if you look at ISIS and its origins, all right, just the acronym alone, do Arabic-speaking people use acronyms? Would they start a terror organization with an English name, the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria? No, it would be some unintelligible Arabic words. And I've looked at Arabic writing before. The only thing intelligible to me is the numerology, the number system. I don't think that Arabic writing, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think Arabic writing is conducive to acronyms. But if you look at the structure of ISIS that was released with al-Baghdadi at the top and then the other emirs or whoever, it looked like a corporate chart. Like just something conceived in the West, not something that Arabs would conceive of. And there's a great clip by Pete Santilli, and I'm going to start with that for your consideration. I have the Fox News clip about the churches. I think you can take my word for it that they released the list on Telegram. You can look that article up yourself. But listen to what Pete Santilli has to say about the formation of ISIS. He references a lot of sources, and then you can make up your mind whether or not it's a Western CIA fabrication that was later supported by George W. Bush, then Obama, Hillary Clinton's State Department. You know, it conveniently rebranded itself ISIL when we were regime toppling Gaddafi. And it should everything should become clear as day for you. So I'm going to go ahead and include that clip now for your consideration. And then we've got some other things to get to.
Hi, everybody. Pete Santilli here with a hard-hitting report on an article that came out of ZeroHedge.com. Now, this is how I'm going to hit this and hit it really hard. Here's the title of it. It's out there circulating on the internet. It's titled ISIS Strategy Leak Reveals a Syrian Takeover Plot. U.S. created a group of very intelligent enemies, it says. But while Western propaganda would like ISIS to appear to be run by religious fanaticism, it instead, as RT reports, this originally came from RT, has been functioning more like a secret intelligence service. Now, this is what I'd like to call out. Ladies and gentlemen, do not be deceived by organizational charts thinking that you should be fearful of this entity. The entire reason why this chart was put out there and translated as follows was because ISIS was fabricated by the intelligence services. And I'm going to prove that. I have documented proof that in fact is the case. We already know a couple of people high up in the presidential administrations, as well as the media has been also admitting some things about the leader of ISIS. We'll get to that momentarily. But look at this chart right here. Draft for a secret service structure for the Islamic State. For the first time, the Haji Bakr documents now make it possible to reach conclusions on how the IS leadership is organized and what role former officials in the government of ex-dictator Saddam Hussein play in it. Above all, however, they show how the takeover in northern Syria was planned, making the group's later advances into Iraq possible in the first place. Ladies and gentlemen, this organizational chart smells of American organizational corporatism. Okay, here at the top, it says the Emir of Security Division for a region. Regions and divisions and security departments, surveillance, these are all terms that basically the intelligence operatives that want you to believe that these fanatical religious Islamists are very, very well organized so that you can combat them by sending billions, if not trillions of dollars to their military-industrial complex. Now, we do know with absolute certainty, as was published here on Washington'sBlog.com, 42 admitted false flag attacks. I'll provide a link to this thing. If anybody out there thinks that false flag attacks, basically just creating terrorism and blaming it on another country, whereas the U.S. intelligence services and our government sanctioning it will create an event and then blame it on our enemy that we go after. That way, we Americans just put money into a bucket. We're fearful, and we help support the military-industrial complex. I'm going to go down here to, I think it's number 32. This is interesting, okay, because when I first looked at this, I was very struck by it. It said former Department of Justice lawyer John Yoo suggested in 2005 that the U.S. should go on the offensive against al-Qaeda. And I said to myself, I said, really, did a justice lawyer, John Yoo, really say that? And I actually did some research. And let me show you this, okay? Blame it on al-Qaeda. I'm sorry, not that one right there. There it is. Going on the offensive. Published in the Los Angeles Times in 2005, July 13, 2005, by John Yoo, a law professor of UC Berkeley and a former administration official. This is what he writes in his own words. Another tool would have our intelligence agencies create a false terrorist organization. It could have its own websites, recruitment centers, training camps, and fundraising operations. And of course, now we know that they have their own organizational charts. But it could launch fake terrorist operations. Okay? Could launch fake terrorist operations and claim credit for real terrorist strikes, helping to sow the confusion within al-Qaeda's ranks, causing operatives to doubt others' identities and to question the validity of communication. So here we are with a presidential administration official and attorney suggesting launching fake terrorism that you're basically paying for. Okay. Now there's a CBS News article here, and I'm just going to play maybe an excerpt of it. But the leader of ISIS himself, listen to this.
Forces attacking the Iraqi government have declared their territory a new country under strict Islamic law. Their leader is becoming, in effect, the new Osama bin Laden. Elizabeth Palmer has learned more about him.
In this elaborately produced video released by ISIS in May, there's a glaring omission. Among the fighters and the ISIS faithful, we see not a single glimpse of their leader, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. In fact, there are only 2 known photographs of the man born in Iraq in 1971 who now controls the most extreme Islamist army on earth. And that's no coincidence, says Firas Abi Ali, a Middle East analyst.
You don't survive for a very long time in this kind of business if everybody knows your name and knows your face and knows where you stay.
In 2005, during the U.S. occupation of Iraq, American soldiers arrested al-Baghdadi. But when the military closed its Camp Bucca prison, Baghdadi was handed over to the Iraqis, who let him go.
That's right. They'd let him go, ladies and gentlemen, because he was an intelligence fabrication to lead ISIS, And that, in fact, is with plenty of research that you can do on your own. You can go determine this on your own. I've already looked up the Los Angeles Times article myself, where John Yoo admitted that one of our tools of intelligence agency would be to create a false terrorist organization. This, as far as I'm concerned, as of July 13, 2005, was in fact the birth of ISIS. ISIS, we know, has been supported by, funded by the likes of John McCain, Lindsey Graham, Barack Obama, as well as Hillary Clinton. As we know, the Benghazi attacks, it is well documented through whistleblower accounts that Ambassador Stevens was negotiating arms from al-Qaeda in Libya to be delivered to al-Qaeda or ISIS in Syria. So this entire hoax here, and here's my point about this article that was published by RT and republished by Zero Hedge. If the intelligence services really had this information about an organizational chart, ask yourself, why would they want to, if they had acquired this, why would they want to broadcast this, especially to those underlings that may not have access to this organizational chart? This has been easily communicated throughout the world to the organization itself, those that may not have even seen the formal organizational structure. But thanks to our intelligence services, they have broadcast it to the entire ISIS organization, even some people that have not seen it. But guess what? It wasn't intended for those people or to display that we caught them red-handed with documentation. The entire reason this thing was broadcast to the entire world today is because they want you to remain fearful. They want you to continue to support the effort to go after ISIS. But we should all know through some deep research and basically just, I guess, just reading the front pages of our news headlines sometimes from time to time. We hear John McCain, Lindsey Graham. We hear members of Congress that are supporting ISIS that did so in their effort to support the moderate ISIS Islamists that were fighting against Syria. We know that we funded them. They're an intelligence creation. And this document right here proves that the intelligence services published this stuff mainly to keep the fear of the American public going, so that you pull money out of your wallet and give it to the military-industrial complex. All right. Food for thought. Here's proof and documentation that they just want to keep us fearful. They want to show us that ISIS intends to take over Syria and take over the entire Middle East. Ladies and gentlemen, hang on to your money. Do your absolute darndest, especially to hide the cheese from the IRS. Set up a business and legally do all of your write-offs, because any money that you're giving to them in the form of taxes is going towards supporting this organizational chart that was essentially fabricated by the intelligence services. Every single American needs to do their absolute darndest to legally, of course, setting up small businesses and writing off all of your income so that you don't have to pay income taxes. Do that, because your money will go towards supporting this effort by the military-industrial complex to keep the perpetual war on terror going. I'm Pete Santilli. This has been a special report here with, of course, a twist of hard-hitting commentary.
Okay, so after watching that, you should have a pretty solid footing on which to base the claim that ISIS is, in fact, a Western puppet organization, and there are probably other entities like Israel that could have links. I don't claim to present evidence today, but I'm saying it is a possibility. Don't rule it out. And they use them for things like regime changes, and obviously they have been run out of Aleppo in Syria. So that hasn't worked. But let's dig a little bit deeper. Whom do members of ISIS seek to attack? Christians. All right. Now, the WikiLeaks that came out had suggested Luciferian ties to Hillary Clinton. Now, Hillary Clinton's idol, whom she wrote her senior thesis on, was Saul Alinsky. Now, many of you might not know much about Saul Alinsky, so I thought I would throw in this clip and educate you a little bit.
And one of Gramsci's all-star disciples, Saul Alinsky, became one of the most influential radicals of the 1960s.
Well, Saul Alinsky was a prominent radical in 1930 Chicago. He worked closely with the Communist Party. He used to go down and train at the rifle range with Leon Dupre, who was later a mentor of Barack Obama. And they used to train to shoot because they knew the revolution was just around the corner. But that didn't come, so he got a bit more subtle.
Well, Saul Alinsky called for a community organizer to stir things up, to create agitation. In fact, he said, you'll be accused of being an agitator, and that's exactly what you are. He wanted the haves and have-nots fighting with each other.
It wasn't until I was watching an old film from World War II that I realized what the left has been doing in America to pit the poor against the rich, blacks against whites, and the young against the old is the same tactic Hitler used to disunify Germany.
You see, they knew that they were not strong enough to conquer a unified country, so they split Germany into small groups. They used prejudice as a practical weapon to cripple the nation. Remember that when you hear this kind of talk. Somebody's going to get something out of it, and it isn't going to be you.
And they use the conflict as justification for more government to stop the chaos. So they create the chaos, and then they step in as a solution to the chaos. And as Francis Schaeffer said, once this chaos comes, most people will willingly give over to an authoritarianism because they don't want the chaos.
His book was kind of the field manual, if you will, for these activist organizations.
Which President Obama studied and taught at a workshop for 4 years in Chicago as a community organizer for Acorn.
As I was reading through Rules for Radicals to see where he was coming from, I just happened to take a look at the dedication in the front of the book. And this is what I saw. Quote, "Lest we forget at least an over-the-shoulder acknowledgement to the very first radical, the first radical known to man who rebelled against the establishment and did it so effectively that he at least won his own kingdom. Lucifer." Unquote. Saul Alinsky from Antonio Gramsci has had an incredible amount of influence on our president and on our society, and he dedicates his book openly to Lucifer, Satan. I think that says more about where their ideas and plans are based than anything else.
You asked what Saul Alinsky's impact is on the leftist movement today, and it basically defines it. It defines it.
And so there you have it. The left, Obama, and the person he so vigorously campaigned for, Hillary Clinton, supporting Saul Alinsky, who dedicated Rules for Radicals to Lucifer. And these people are as divisive as ever. That's how they work. That's how their paradigm functions. Now let's move on to something else. Let's move on to the constant demonization of Trump for his relationship with Vladimir Putin. I'm going to start off with a sketch that appeared on Saturday Night Live about a week ago. And as we know, mainstream media and channels are engaged in propaganda. No surprise there, right? So let's take a look at this sketch and see what happens. Then we'll talk about it some more.
What's that sound?
I think it's coming from the chimney.
Is it a ghost? Am I being Scrooged? I hate that.
Oh,
Scrooged?
Oh, Donald, I think it's...
Dracula! Vladimir, this is such a great surprise.
What are you doing here?
I was just in town, you know, hiding in the walls.
Well, come in. come in. It's so great to finally get a chance to talk in person. I composed an email to you, but I haven't even sent it yet.
I know. Mr. Trump, I'm here because your CIA is saying that we Russians tried to make you win election.
I know, all lies made up by some very bitter people who need to move on.
So you trust me more than American CIA?
All I know is I won.
Wow, this guy is blowing my mind. Donald, I want to state officially that we in Russia are so happy that you are U.S. president.
Oh, thank you.
We think you are the best candidate.
Sure.
The smartest candidate.
No doubt.
The Manchurian candidate.
I don't know what that means, but it sounds tremendous.
And since it is Christmas, after all, I got you a gift. This is Elf on the Shelf. It's fun. You just put it right here next to your internet router. Yeah, and you keep it there all year. It's fun, yes?
It's beautiful. Vladimir, I'm sorry, but I didn't know you were coming, so I do not have a gift for you.
Please, Mr. Trump, you are the gift.
Donald, can we talk?
Of course, excuse us, Vladimir.
Donald, I do not trust this man, okay? Think of it this way. If a person you did not know came from a foreign country and just started flattering you, what would you do?
Marry them.
No. You must tell this man to live.
Okay, Melania, all right. Vladimir, I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to go. Frankly, it might not look bad. It might look bad for us to be seen together.
A brilliant observation. You are always so smart, Mr. Trump.
You can stay as long as you want.
Sir?
Oh, my God, it's the ghost of Christmas past. Scrooged.
No, I'm not a ghost. This is just my face and hair. It's me, Kellyanne. Your Secretary of State pick Rex Tillerson is here.
Mr. President-elect, I just wanted to come by and... Pooty? Oh, my God!
Rexy, baby!
Zatira! Zatira! Oh, my stars, Donald! You didn't tell me Pooty was gonna be here. Man, have I been hoping to catch up with you.
As if I, old friend, so much to talk about, right here. We're having some oil drilling problems here in Vancouver Field,
Oh, that's no problem. As soon as the sanctions are lifted, we'll up our intake by 30%.
What are you guys talking about?
Don't worry about it.
What about doubling production here in the Pecora Sea?
Already underway. Just have to take control of Lomonosov Bridge. Our military is on it.
And then we destroy Vanity Fair, right?
So, there you have part of the sketch anyway. I didn't include the entire thing. Even at the small risk of a copyright strike, that's why I included the version that was on the TV screen as opposed to the one directly from Saturday Night Live. But I wanted to give you a flavor for what's going on. Of course, they make Trump look like a stooge and like a complete nitwit, which he obviously isn't. And I don't think Putin is smarter than Trump, but I don't think Putin is an idiot either. I don't think either of them is an idiot. And the fact of the matter is, we are out more than ever to discredit Putin because Putin has blown the whistle on ISIS. He's raised questions about 9/11 being an inside job. And I'm sure many of you have seen that Donald Trump has raised questions about 9/11. Well, the fact of the matter is, if you go on to Russia Today and you look at some of the Putin speeches with subtitles and listen to his side of the story, he's actually not that unreasonable of a man, at least from my take on things. Everybody is entitled to his or her own opinion. But the propaganda machine is desperate to make you think that Trump is an idiot that listens to Putin. Mind you, our CIA did not even go before Congress to tell them where they got this intelligence on Russian hacking. every three-letter alphabet agency in the United States is accountable to somebody. And the people they're accountable to, they won't answer to. So what does that tell you intuitively? So I thought I would include a clip to establish more credibility about Putin and what he's saying about ISIS. You're going to have to read the subtitles. So let's see what Vladimir Putin himself has to say about ISIS. Then you decide.
Вот президент Обама упомянул об одной из угроз, это ИГИЛ. Ну а кто помогал вооружать людей, которые в Сирии боролись с Асадом-то? Кто создавал благоприятный политический информационный климат? Кто подталкивал к поставкам оружия? А вы чего, разве вы не понимаете, кто там воюет? Там воюют наемники, в основном. Вы знаете, что там платят деньги? И они воюют там, где платят больше. Вот они вооружились, им платят определенную сумму. Мне даже называли эти суммы, которые им платят. Они там воюют уже с оружием, все, у них уже не отнимешь. Потом выяснилось, что в другом месте чуть-чуть начали побольше платить. Они там туда перетекут. Вот они захватили месторождения нефтяные, там, скажем, где-то в Ираке или в Сирии. Нефть начали добывать. У них эту нефть покупают, транспортируют, продают. Почему санкции не накладывают на всех, кто это делает? А что, разве Соединенные Штаты не знают, кто это делает? Это разве не их союзники этим занимаются? У них что, нет силы, возможности повлиять на своих союзников? Или они не хотят влиять? Зачем они бомбят ИГИЛ? Вот там начали нефть добывать и больше платить. И там часть сразу этих боевиков перетекла из так называемой цивилизованной оппозиции. Сразу же перетекла в ИГИЛ, потому что там больше платят. Я считаю, что это абсолютно невыверенная, непрофессиональная политика, без опоры на реалии. Надо поддержать цивилизованную демократическую оппозицию в Сирии. Ну, поддержали, дали оружие. А завтра половина боевиков оттуда ушла и перешла в ИГИЛ. Что, нельзя было об этом подумать чуть-чуть пораньше? Вот мы против такой политики Соединенных Штатов. Мы считаем, что она ошибочна, наносит ущерб всем, в том числе и вам. Что касается учета наших интересов, то нам бы очень хотелось, чтобы такие люди, как вы, возглавили Государственный департамент. И, может быть, тогда удастся как-то изменить ситуацию. Если этого не произойдет, я бы очень вас просил довести это до наших партнеров, и до президента Соединенных Штатов, и до госсекретаря, до других ответственных лиц, что мы не хотим, мы не ищем никакой конфронтации. Но вы считаете, что нужно уважать наши интересы, и многие вещи, они отрегулируются. Но это нужно сделать не на словах, а на деле. Уважать интересы других, с уважением относиться, это значит, что, как я уже говорил в своем выступлении, нельзя дожимать, используя свои исключительные положения в экономике там, или где-то в военной сфере. Понимаете, во всем. Ну хорошо, в Ираке там воюют плохо, в Ливии там все довели до того, что вашего посла убили в Ливии. Мы что ли это сделали? Приняли решение в свое время Совета Безопасности. О чем? Значит, бесполетную зону сделать. Для чего? Для того, чтобы не могли летать самолеты Каддафи и бомбить боевиков. Тоже считаю не самое лучшее решение. Ну ладно. А что на самом деле сделали? Начали сами наносить удары, в том числе и по территории. Явное, грубое нарушение резолюции Совета Безопасности ООН. Практически агрессия без всякой резолюции. Это мы, что ли, сделали? Это же вы сделали своими руками. А закончилось чем? Убийством вашего посла. Кто виноват? Сами виноваты. Вот Это хорошо для США, что посла убили. Ужасно, страшная катастрофа. Но не нужно искать виноватых, если сами допускаете ошибки. Нужно наоборот подняться над вот этим желанием бесконечно доминировать и исходить из вот этих имперских амбиций. Не нужно отравлять сознание миллионов людей тем, что другой политики в Соединенных Штатах быть не может, кроме имперской.
Do not poison the consciousness of millions of people like there can be no other way but imperialistic politics. Now, does that really sound like propaganda to you? It sure doesn't to me. It sounds like he is calling out Obama and everybody else for what they've done. He has some legitimate grievances, but this government, specifically the cabal in charge, does not want to be called out. I think it's very interesting because I think very few Americans have taken the time to actually go in and listen to the translations of what Vladimir Putin has to say. And I think it's about time, considering Russia is a country that has nuclear arms, that we go ahead and listen to what they have to say, because I don't know about you guys, but I personally do not want a hot war with Russia. So this goes back to the Saturday Night Live propaganda about how cozy Trump and Putin are. They want us to think that it's a bad idea for him to be friendly with Putin because we should really be at war with Russia. You know, anything coming from Russia is propaganda. They must be hacking our elections. It's all a great big joke on us. Just like ISIS, just like so many other things, just like 9/11 was a hoax to induce spending for the military-industrial complex, the Project for a New American Century, keep the war machine churning, and so on and so forth. So there you have it, folks. Feel free to comment, subscribe, like, and share.